In today's video, I'm not going to comment on my grammar mistakes or punctuation mistakes. No, I'd like to share with you my mistakes in the process of learning, which turned out to be the obstacles on the path of learning English. So grab your cup of tea or coffee and let's start. The first mistake was connected with my expectations. When I was learning English, I was full of energy. I was highly motivated to read in English, do exercises, memorize words. I thought I could progress from A2 to B2 level in half a year. However, when 4 months passed, I realized that it was impossible to achieve the set aim. I was disappointed and I wasn't so motivated as before. I had been working so hard, I devoted at least 2 hours a day to English. Why was I still somewhere in between? I was far from my aim and I didn't want to pursue the goal. I was ready to give up, but then I thought it over. Stop. You're at school. Do you want to achieve B2 less than in 1 year? Not living in an English-speaking country, having no one to practice English apart from your English teacher and classmates? It's crazy. Don't you think so? You have been going to the art school since you were 9 and now you're 15, but it doesn't seem that you draw like a Van Gogh. Why do you then set unachievable goals? You should be realistic. Setting your goals is essential. However, it's necessary to be realistic, as having achievable goals help you get your aim faster. Besides, you are more likely to stay motivated and focused, which is also quite important. When we start doing something, we always want to know the exact time and date when we'll go with this or that task. For example, when I start cleaning my flat, I know that in 1 hour my flat will be spick and span. The same is with English. Before we start learning English, we want to know when we will be able to achieve the next level and what amount of time is required. I guess there isn't any teacher on earth who could tell you how long it will take you to reach this or that level of English. It's quite a tricky question, as every person is unique. We perceive information differently, and for one person 20 minutes is enough to learn words and phrases, and he or she will be able to use them. And for the other person, it won't be enough even 1 hour. If we have a look at Common European Framework Guided Learning Hours, to achieve A1 level, you should spend approximately 90 academic hours. To get from A2 to B1 level, you need at least 350 academic hours. For example, you have A2 level and want to obtain B1. If you attend English classes, which last 1 hour 30 minutes twice a week, you need more than 1 year to reach B1. So going back to my story, if I had set achievable goals, I wouldn't have been so depressed and I wouldn't have lost my motivation. Keep your nerve system healthy, don't create needless stressful situations yourself. The second mistake was that I compared myself with my group mates. Generally, comparing yourself to others isn't so bad. It allows you understand there is still something to achieve. Sometimes it can even motivate you to better yourself. However, constant comparing yourself to others can lead to negative thoughts and even depression. Do you remember the last time you compared yourself to another person? How did you feel? Were you elevated? Did you feel miserable? I guess you've chosen the second variant. Am I right? The same with me. I guess comparing myself to others was the main obstacle of practicing speaking skills. I was afraid of speaking in front of others. As I was a straight A student, I didn't want to make any mistakes in front of my classmates. And I wanted my classmates and groupmates to think that I was perfect. When someone answered better than I did, I always blamed myself that I could have done that better. I could have spent more time studying. Those thoughts kept repeating in my head, and lingering in this thought made me feel gloomy, and sometimes I didn't want to open my textbooks or look at them. If you're in a habit of making comparisons as well as ruminating, it's more beneficial to utilize your time and effort towards mastering English. When I finally realized that I am learning English not to demonstrate my skills, not to show off, but for myself, I stopped being afraid of making mistakes in front of my groupmates. I changed my attitude, and you should do it too. Of course, you might say, Natalie, it's easier to say than to do. Well, definitely, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So there is no need to compare yourself to others. It's just a waste of time, and it may result in feeling of despair or self-resentment. Believe me, you can achieve better results if you resist the temptation of comparing your abilities and skills with others. The final advice is not to learn several foreign languages simultaneously. Hey, stop! What are you talking about? That's bullshit. I'm learning German and Spanish, and I don't see any problems. Let me explain what I mean here. At university, I learned English as my first foreign language and German as the second foreign language. I thought it wasn't enough for me, and I started thinking about learning one more foreign language. As I was in love with Asian culture, the first language that came to my mind was Chinese, and the second was Korean. I couldn't decide which one to choose, so I started learning both. And it was a huge mistake. I'll explain why. Chinese and Korean have similarities and differences, and it can be viewed as an advantage and disadvantage. On the one hand, it was easier to learn new words and phrases as there were some similarities in structure and vocabulary. On the other hand, it was a challenge to distinguish them, and I was confused when I tried to find the appropriate word in Chinese, but instead, I used a Korean word. Honestly, it was a disaster. I had to quit learning Korean and I concentrated on Chinese. As a result, there wasn't any mess in my head, everything was structured, and I could see that I was making progress in Chinese more rapidly. So my advice is not to learn 2 or more foreign languages from zero at the same time, especially when they are similar. Learning multiple foreign languages from scratch isn't productive. If you want to learn French and let's take Portuguese, start with one language, learn some basic words and phrases, understand the structure, and after that, start learning the second one. Leave a gap between the levels of one language and the other. Or you can use laddering technique. Having reached a reasonable level of English, you may start using to learn one more foreign language. For example, French. Use materials in English to learn French. After you reach B1 or B2 in French, you can start learning another language, for example German, using French and English materials. It's a convenient way to combine the study of 2, 3 or even more languages. Well, there are a lot of mistakes that people have made in life, and we need only to know them and not repeat. As I've already said, we are all different. Maybe you won't make the same mistakes, but I think it's better to be aware of something rather than not. Write down whether you face such problems in the way of learning languages, or if you want to share the mistakes which you committed, feel free to leave a comment. And remember, learning languages requires discipline, practice, and persistence, so don't give up, you can do everything. If you still have any doubts about how to learn English, Spanish, German, or Chinese, you can take a couple of private lessons with us in our online school English with Net. Use the link in the description below and write to us straight away if you have any questions. See you in the next video. Bye!